Hey YouTube, it's the Daily Driver here, and today I'm pretty excited because I finally have located and found the last part that I need in order to fix my Toyota 4Runner to get this thing up for sale. It's the drive shaft, and I located it at a salvage yard. Super stoked to go pick it up, got it at a very good price, and I just cannot wait to get this thing up for sale and get this thing finished with. It's been a headache to say the least for all the work that I've done to this thing. I wasn't really looking for another project, but anyways, this is it. I'm going up there to pick it up, and I can't wait to get this thing done and over with and move on to the next. So let's get going and let's head up there. All right, so I finally made it here to Furman's, and this is Furman's mini truck, and they're in Santa Ana. These guys are awesome. They have some really cool stuff, and they carry a lot of parts. So let's go inside. All right. And here's the beautiful drive shaft I'm picking up today, thanks to these guys down here at Furman's. Let me show you what they got back here. They mostly specialize in Toyotas and 4x4, and you can see they got a sea of parts. This is awesome. They're great people, and they definitely will have parts that other places won't. So come in down and visit Furman's. These are cool people, and they'll definitely help you out. All right, just gonna throw the drive shaft here into my truck, and I'm gonna head back, and then we'll get this thing installed. Take out the old one, put in this one. Now I've got my eye protection. I've got my 14mm ratcheting socket with an extension. And I've also got my oil pan catcher over here to catch the oil when it drips down. Let's get under there. Okay, now that I'm under the car, you can see I'm right under the muffler of the exhaust here, even to get to the drive shaft. And the other thing is I have to be under here because there's not enough room over here. This is the gas tank here, so I don't really have enough room to wiggle around and work over here. So I'm gonna have to be under this, and you gotta be mindful because if this is hot, you can sizzle yourself really good. Anyways, over here at the drive shaft, you can see there's 2 bolts there on that side, and then there's actually 2 bolts on the other side as well. Kind of hard to see the one at the very top there. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my 14mm ratcheting socket, get it up in there. I'm gonna bust all 4 of these bolts loose, and then I'm gonna go ahead and pull them out, and I'll show you from that step forward. So there's one big issue here. I was able to break loose this bolt, and this bolt here. However, I can't reach up here at the top to actually get the 4th bolt. And in order for me to break that loose, what I'm gonna have to do is use my jack stand here and lift the back of the vehicle, and then I'm gonna have to turn the drive shaft in order to get to that bolt so I can break it loose. So let's go ahead and do that. So since I'm having to jack up the back of the car, what I did is I went ahead and chalked this driver's side tire here. I put a chalk in the front and the back. That way the car doesn't roll when I go ahead and jack the car up into the air. And if you look under here, what I'm doing is I'm gonna go ahead and jack it up onto the rear differential, and that way I can lift the car up. What I'll do is I'll turn the drive shaft to where I can reach that bolt. I'm gonna put the parking brake on. That way the drive shaft will not move, and I can break that loose. Once I get that loose, we'll throw in the new one. Follow me. All right, so I got the car jacked up. Wheels are off the ground. I've got it in neutral. I put the car in neutral. That way I could turn this, and you can see it turn the drive shaft. And right there's our last bolt we need to take out right there. So I'm gonna go ahead and take that bolt out, and I'll show you taking this thing out. Okay, so you can see where the drive shaft here connects to the transmission. This is at the front of the drive shaft, if I can get the light on there. And basically what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this pan here and put it underneath where it connects to the transmission, because when I pull the drive shaft away from the transmission, when it's disconnected there, basically it's gonna leak oil. I'm just gonna have this under here so it doesn't make a big mess. And I'm gonna show you as I pull out the drive shaft. Let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so what I'm gonna do now is I'm just gonna hit this with my hand. Well, actually, look at that. I didn't even have to hit it with my hand. It starts dropping out. So basically it just dropped right out, and I didn't even have to hit it. I was gonna use a little tool here to get it out, but I guess not. So now I've got it unbolted and everything. I got my pan down here to catch the oil, and all I'm gonna do is just pull the drive shaft back, and you'll see the yoke come on out. It slides right on out. I'm trying to do this with one hand while I'm holding the camera, so you can slowly see the yolk coming out if I can grab it. Let's see. And there we go. Shit, whoops. See that? That's the yolk right there. That piece. This long piece right here, the yolk. And there we go. We got this out. Let's go ahead and put the new one in. Okay, so I got the new drive shaft now. And I'm going to take the yolk part of it here, this part. And you can see I got a little cross member bar here. What I'm going to do is lift this up over. Again, I'm doing this with one hand as I'm holding the camera, so not the easiest thing. So I got it up here now, and you can see where it's going to connect. It's going to connect right in here, and there's actually these little threads in there, and it's got to be able to match up threads on here. So see if we can get this done. Let's do this. All right, so let me try to get these threads lined up here. There we go. And once you got it in, slides right in like that. And the great thing is, this thing will slide in and out. And that way, you know, in the back here, when we go to connect it in the back, it makes it easier, so we can pull it this way or push it that way. But it will make it easier installing this. And so let's go ahead to the back now and get the back installed. So I'm going to be using some of this Threadlocker blue, and this is going to be put on each of the 4 bolts that I'm going to be using to hold the drive shaft in place. And again, this is just for security, so that when you're driving down the road, your bolts don't come loose and the drive shaft goes flying out. That would not be a good situation. So I'm just, again, putting it on all the 4 bolts and just along the threads. That way it holds it in place better. Okay, so now I'm just lifting the back of the drive shaft up, and I'm just going to line up where the bolts go here. And see, since they don't line up, what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to put the car back into neutral, and then I'm going to twist it to where I can get this lined up properly with the bolts. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. Okay, so now I've got the car in neutral, the parking brake off, and if you can see that I'm able to turn this now so that I can line up these 4 bolts, and I've got it lined up. And again, I'm going to just turn it right to where I need it to be. Let's see if I can do this here. So I've got it lined up. I'm gonna get my first bolt in, we'll hold it, and then I'll stick the other bolts in place. Let me see if it's... It's pretty heavy to hold. It's better to have a jack under this, so it makes it easier to hold it in place. But I've got the 1 bolt in. That's going to hold it for right this second. And I'm going to get these other bolts in. We'll get it all done. Bolt number 3 is in. And see, since it's in neutral again, I can twist it so I can get bolt number 4 in. And there's bolt number 4. Now I've got all the bolts in. Just push them in to make sure they're in place. And then I'm going to get the nuts, and I'm going to screw them onto the back. So there is a washer with each of the nuts, and you want to make sure that the bolts are in first before you put the washer on. Now I've got the washer here, and I'm going to go ahead and put it on the back of the bolt, and I'm turning it counterclockwise to tighten it up on here. I'm just going to do this to all 4 sides. I'm not tightening it down all the way because I just want to get these on for right now. When I put the car back in park and I have the emergency brake on, then I'll start tightening them up then. So just get them where they're snug on there, finger tight, okay? And then just spin it and go on to the next. And then I'm gonna do this to each of the 4 bolts here. And you want to make sure that the drive shaft is pressed on all the way, and that these bolts are snug with the metal. Let me show you here. See, you want to make sure that they're snug up there like that. That's what you want it to look like. You don't want this sticking out like this or anything. Make sure they're pressed in all the way. That way, when you finger tighten them, you know that they're on there properly and that the drive shaft's going to be secure. I'm just going to turn the drive shaft just to make sure I got all the bolts on properly. So you can see how the drive shaft connects to this other part here on the rear differential. And you want to make sure, that, again, that it's finger tight before you fully tighten it down. And you can see that the metal is touching the metal here. You want that. You want the drive shaft touching the transfer case. And you can see that when I'm turning it here, this bolt here, when I initially started tightening these on, the drive shaft wasn't against the rear diff, and so you can see this bolt's a little loose. So I'm gonna just hand tighten that to secure it against this. I'm gonna put it in park and then put on the emergency brake, and then I'm gonna go ahead and tighten these down. So I'm taking my tools here. I'm gonna grab the back bolt, the back nut here, and then I'm going to go ahead and start tightening these nuts down. And you can see the reason I've got this on the back here is so that the bolt doesn't just spin when I'm trying to tighten it. And you oh shoot. So you definitely want to get this down tight. And I'm going to go over this and tighten each one of these again just to ensure that it's tight enough. I know there's torque specs on this, but the main thing is you just want to get it really tight. And so that's what I'm doing here. And I'm going to do this to all four, of course, and make sure they're all tightened down and fastened. And we'll get going on these other ones here too. The last thing I'm going to do here to finish up this job is I'm going to spray some WD-40 around this seal here. That way that with the friction and vibration and everything, it doesn't burn up the seal. And this is just something I like to do just to make sure that things don't burn up after I get them installed. So let's get a good go over, and let's kind of spray it diligently, and now we're done. Thank God. So I'm super stoked to finally get this job done, and it's been a pain in the butt with all the work that I've done to this truck. But I'm finally at the point now where I've finished everything that needs to be repaired, and I can finally get this thing up for sale. Awesome. Super stoked. And thank you everybody for watching, and if you haven't already, go ahead and like this video down below, and also subscribe to my channel. I'm going to be bringing a lot more better content to come here in the near future. So keep posted. Thanks again everybody for watching. Till next time.